Good morning, second graders. Today we are going to be making some line plots in lesson 24. So our objective is we can and we will use data to create a line plot. So we're going to be looking at data in a tally chart similar to what you created yesterday, but we're going to turn that into a line plot today. So first I want to show you what a line plot is. This is what a line plot looks like. These parts are in black, aren't normally there. I put those there to show you what each part of the line plot is. Where up here it says how many siblings we have, that's the title. So this line plot is showing us how many siblings people have. Down here is our line. So remember, our line is just a straight line that goes across. We can put an arrow on both sides to show that it keeps going. Down here is our number of siblings. So some people have 0 siblings, some have 1, some have 2, some have 3, some have 4, some have 5. I would be right here because I have 3 siblings. The X's each stand for the students or the kids, the people we're asking. So, for example, if I asked Karyana how many siblings she had, and she told me she has 1 sibling, I'm going to put an X for Karyana down here. I'm just saying random people. Sorry if I don't get your siblings right. If I asked Abby A how many siblings she has, and she says 1 sibling, I'm going to put an X for 1 here on top of Karyana. If I asked Abel how many siblings he has, and he tells me 0 siblings, I'm going to put an X for Abel down here. So each X stands for a kid. The numbers stand for how many siblings. So that's where it can get a little confusing. But I want you guys to really pay close attention and watch me create some line plots today so that you guys are able to do this on your own successfully. So let's get started. So here is our data table. So this is kind of what you did yesterday. We measured someone's hand span, so how far it is across from their thumb all the way to the pinky. Some people's were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you make your line plot is write your title. Hand span of students in Miss DeFrancisco's class. So this is a class, they measured how many their hand spans. The title is hand spans of the students. These numbers, 2 through 8, are going to go below the line, equally spaced. So 0 all the way to 8. We want to make sure that we have all the numbers represented. If we start before 0, so our first one is 2, but we have 0 on here, that's okay. We just won't have any X's if we don't have any students that have that hand span. Now, these tally marks show the number of students. So this means 1 student had a hand span of 4 inches. 7 students had a hand span of 5 inches. 10 students had a hand span of 6 inches. 3 students had a hand span of 7 inches, and 1 student had a hand span of 8 inches. So each tally mark is going to equal 1x. We have to remember that each tally mark equals 1x. So I'm going to start with 4. So I see here's 4 for my hand span of 4 inches. I see that there's only 1 student. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put 1x right here. I'm going to make them a little smaller. So I've got my 1x to show 1 student had a hand span of 4 inches. I don't have any students for 3 or 2, so I'm not going to put any x's there. We don't have to write 0, we just leave it blank. I'm going to go on. So 7 students had a hand span of 5 inches. So that means by the 5, I need to put 7 x's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, I might go above here, 5, 6, 7. Sorry if I went on the title a little bit. So I should have 7 x's to match the 7 students who had a hand span of 5 inches. So 7 tally marks means 7 x's. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Let's move on to 6. We have 2 groups of 5, so 10 students had a hand span of 6 inches. So We now need to put 10 by 6. 1, 2, 3, oops, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to go off a little bit, but that's okay. 9 and 10. So notice that 10 goes higher than 7. So I can quickly see that more students had a 6-inch handspan than had a 5-inch handspan. And if you see, I kind of put these X's a little bit closer together. That's something you want to be careful trying not to do. We want to do it the same as much as possible. We want them to look similar so the lines are equal. So I'm just going to move these a little bit closer to match how I put them for the 6-inch one. So we can clearly see that there's 3 more students who had a 6-inch handspan than had a 5-inch handspan. Now I'm going to move to 7. There were 3 students who had a 7-inch handspan. So I am going to put 3 X's above the 7. 1, 2, 3. And lastly, just 1 student had a handspan of 8 inches. So I am going to put a 1 for 8. So that is my line plot. This is what it should look like. I should have nothing over here because I don't have any students who have that length of a handspan. And 0 and 1 aren't even in our tally chart. So this line plot needs to match the tally chart. One student 4 inches here, 7 students 5 inches here, 10 students 6 inches here, 3 students have 7 inches here, and 1 student has 8 inches here. So what we're going to do today is just this. We're going to be looking at data and turning it into a line plot. Please pay attention to your table, to the parts of the tally chart and the parts of your line plot. The numbers for the handspan go below. These do not go for X's. The tally marks are where you decide how many X's you're going to have above each number. Let's do one more together. Okay, so this one's a little bit different because it doesn't start at 0, it starts at 17. So the first thing I need to do is draw my line plot. I drew that. I wrote the title. This one says length of right foot. So they measured people's right foot in Miss DeFrancisco's class. So some students had a 17 centimeter foot, some students had a 23 centimeter foot. I need to label those below. So I'm going to start at 17 this time. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So it went a little bit above where the chart ended, but that's okay. Now I'm going to look at how many students had each length foot. So I see 1 student had a 17-inch foot, or sorry, 17 centimeter foot. So I am going to put 1x by 17 centimeters. I see 2 students had an 18 centimeter foot. So I am going to put 2 x's by 18 centimeters. 1, 2. Remember the x's stand for how many tally charts. That stands for how many students. Each student is an X or each student is a tally mark. I see there are 4 students who had a 19 centimeter foot. So I need to put 4 X's by 19 centimeters. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to try and keep it as even as possible. Sometimes it's a little bit hard. Okay, 20 centimeters won't work. So 6 students had a 20 centimeter foot. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 students had a 20 centimeter foot. And now I didn't make my line plot big enough, so mine are going into the title a little bit, but make sure you give yourself some space so it fits. Moving on to 21, I see it's exactly the same as 20. I'm going to go ahead and put 6 above 21's 2 as well, because 6 students had a foot length of 21 centimeters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, got rid of it, 4, 5, 6. So these two should be exactly the same because they both have 6 students who had that length foot. And it looks like they end at the exact same spot. So it's really easy to see if you have the same amount of students who have something, because we can quickly see that the X's are the exact same height. Let's move on to 22. We only had 2 students who had a 22 centimeter foot. So just 2 X's for 22. And lastly, 1 student had a 23 centimeter foot. So that just gets 1 X. Now I can even move this up a little bit, so maybe it's not as much. There you go. You can see it a little bit better that way, and I'll hide this. All right, so when we look at this line plot, we can easily see that the same amount of students had a 20 centimeter foot and a 21 centimeter foot. The least amount of students had a 17 centimeter foot and 23 centimeter foot, and equal amounts of students had an 18 centimeter foot and a 22 centimeter foot. So what you're going to be doing today is exactly what I just did for you. You are going to be making line plots. In your work, they will give you a data table where you can see how many students had something or something different. You'll see what the title of your data table tells you. That's what the line plot you're going to be making should be titled. So if it says length of right foot in centimeters, that's what you can put for your title. The side with the tallies always shows the number of people or the number of students who have that. So all of your tallies should be X's, and those stand for how many kids. I think you guys will do a really great job today. Your extra math is also line plots. So there's an additional video you can watch to learn more about line plots. I can't wait to see what you make. Have fun.